Parenting in American Indian, Alaska Native, racially, tribally, and culturally diverse families is a complex topic, especially in the time we're living in. In particular, American Indian, Alaska Native children can be of mixed races, cultures, and tribes. Tribes can have very different cultures, languages, and experiences. We need to be mindful of this when parenting children who are from a tribal culture that is different than our own. Parents need to come away understanding it requires specific skills and tools. This theme is action-packed and acknowledges the very real needs of children being raised in racially, tribally, and culturally diverse families, and the ways that parents and caregivers can and should meet those needs. The content heavily links children's identity and self-worth to race and tribal culture. This theme uses many real-life examples and the voices of those with lived experience to hit home the need for the strategies. The goal of the theme is for parents to be clear about choices they can make for a more successful journey. Here are the nuts and bolts. You'll begin this theme with the Guess Who game to demonstrate how hard it is to even talk about race. Be sure to watch the instructional video to learn more about this activity. It's important to start class leaning into discomfort so we can learn how to talk with kids about race and culture. This theme is intentionally practical. You will need to be clear on language we can all use with the handout called Terms We'll Use. Next, we'll move into a video to get the first-hand view of people with lived experience, starting with 12-year-olds, trying to understand how to think and talk about race and culture, especially around complicated things like discrimination and racism. Everyone will be able to see the need for support from parents to make sense of these complex topics. The discussion will end with tips for parent-child conversations, again, highlighting the need for parents to develop this skill. Section 3 focuses on the subtle and not so subtle messages children in racially, tribally, and culturally diverse families often receive. We talk about the complexities of how American Indian, Alaska Native children see themselves and how they are seen by their tribes, families, and the outside world. We practice with real-life situations and discussions about how parents can support children who are dealing with overt racism, as well as the subtleties of internalized racism. We listen to a 21-minute podcast called Parenting in Racially and Culturally Diverse Families that is accompanied by discussion points centered around what this can mean for American Indian, Alaska Native parents. This section ends with a direct conversation about racism and the parent's job in fighting it. Section 4 gives participants a peek into how diverse their own world is through an activity where they'll choose different colored beads as they answer questions that represent people they interact with. The purpose is to reinforce how important it is to have diverse people surrounding racially, tribally, and culturally diverse children and families. Be sure to watch the instructional video on doing this activity because there's lots of details. Here are some of the key takeaways. Conversations about race, tribe, and culture can bring parents and children closer together and improve how the child feels and understands themselves. Parents may also want and need to bring in others from the child's background to help the child learn more about their race, tribe, or culture. Who the child is exposed to matters. Ignoring the child's race, tribe, and culture is not helpful as the world is not colorblind. There are some really challenging things that children need to learn how to handle, like racism, internalized racism, and microaggressions. The reality is race, tribe, and culture impact children's developing sense of self, their self-worth, and their identity, whether we see that happening on the outside or not. Families can learn a lot from those who have been down this road before. It's important to listen and learn from those who have experience. Let's be kind to ourselves and others in this theme. Understanding race, tribe, and culture is an area of growth for most of us. Here are some tips to help things go smoothly. This is a theme that can bring up strong thoughts and feelings for participants. Keep the focus on parenting, specifically in racially, tribally, and culturally diverse families, not all the challenges we have in society. We learned from piloting this theme around the country to focus on practical tools and learning from people with lived experience rather than heavily pushing self-reflection and trying to force people to change their views. Talk to your co-facilitator about which of you is most comfortable delivering this material. That does not necessarily mean which of you feels most passionate about it. Coming on too strong does not always work in our favor as facilitators either. Whenever the class gets to a point of discomfort, acknowledge it. You can parallel it to what is happening in the real world when race and culture comes up. Children in racially, tribally, and culturally diverse families will be dealing with this challenge daily and need our help. If participants get defensive or seem disengaged, use real-life examples. For instance, something as simple as you picking up the child from school could trigger an incident of questions or shaming for them. You could also ask participants, if it's this awkward for adults to just discuss it in a class, imagine how hard it would be for a child to live with this discomfort all the time. When doing the beat activity in Section 4, take care to keep this activity non-judgmental. It is meant to help people gain personal insight. When conversations get derailed into larger societal matters or world events, acknowledge the person briefly and keep the conversation moving. Keep discussions simple and practical. Return the class quickly to your purpose of the day, parenting in racially, tribally, and culturally diverse families. In closing, this topic can be heavy, yet has a lot of light. By talking about it in class, we're having an impact on the whole next generation, especially for our most vulnerable children. And we might just be having a very real impact on adults too.